What if the sky over Karakura town cracked open not with lightning, but with sunlight so pure it burned through the spiritual darkness itself, and a man who was never meant to have a soul stepped into the afterlife? For 30 seconds, the world holds its breath. A hollow shrieks as it dissolves mid-roar, not from a Zanpakuto strike, not from a Kido incantation, but from Hitra, impossible heat that feels like standing at the heart of a star. The air trembles, the clouds split, apart like paper tearing in slow motion, and descending through that impossible radiance is a figure in blue and red, cape snapping like a banner of defiance against fate itself. Ichigo Kurosaki feels it before he sees it. That pressure. Not hollow, not Shinigami, not Quincy. Something else, something wrong, something hopeful. Superman lands in the middle of Karakura town. Boots cracking asphalt that immediately begins to steam under his feet. His senses explode. He hears the cries of souls chained to regret. He sees creatures born from despair. He feels a world balanced on the edge of endless mourning, and for the first time since leaving Earth, his heart tightens. Where am I? He whispers. Above him, a garganta snaps shut, like an eye blinking. This world answers with a scream. The hollow that survived barely staggers backward. Mask fractured, spiritual flesh evaporating in waves. It looks at Superman not with hunger, but fear. Real fear. He tries to flee. Superman moves to Ichigo's eyes. It isn't Shunpo, it isn't Isanido, it's something far worse. The creature simply vanishes, caught between one heartbeat and the next, reduced to ash by a single, restrained punch that never even touches it directly. The shockwave rattles windows across the district. Ichigo's sword hums violently in his hand. What the hell was that? From the shadows of a rooftop, Rukia Kuchiki's eyes widen. Her spiritual pressure instinctively flares in defense, even as her mind refuses to accept what she's sensing. Ichigo, she says quietly, voice tight. That man, he doesn't have Ryotsu. Ichigo blinks. That's impossible. No? Her fingers tremble around the hilt of her blade. But whatever power he has, it isn't spiritual. It's physical. Absolute. Superman straightens, cape settling behind him as he listens to the echoing panic of unseen souls. He turns slowly, scanning the city, seeing layers upon layers of existence stacked like fragile glass. Humans walking unaware, pluses bound by chains, hollows lurking in the negative space between moments. A ghost drifts through a wall, sobbing. Superman's jaw tightens. This world is broken, he murmurs, and someone is supposed to be protecting it. The air splits again, this time not with light, but authority. A Senkaman opens above the street, emerald gates unfolding with mechanical precision. From within, black robes flutter as figures step out, swords drawn, faces set in practiced calm that fractures the instant they feel him. Captain Laval. Pressure crashes down on the street. Byakuya Kuchiki stands at the forefront, eyes narrowing by a fraction. All units, he says coolly, though his pulse betrays him, do not engage. Renji swallows hard. Katin, that guy standing inside our barrier like it's not even there. Superman looks up at them, confused but calm. Always calm. I'm not your enemy, he says, voice carrying effortlessly. But I need answers. Bakuya raises Senbon Zakura a single inch from its sheath. You stand in the world of the dead, he replies, and you radiate power that defies its laws. That makes you a threat. Superman meets his gaze, eyes reflecting the fractured sky. Then your laws need help. For a heartbeat, nothing moves. Down the ground beneath them groans far below. Something ancient stirs, drawn by the impossible light that does not belong to any soul. Deep within soul society, alarms begin to scream, and far beyond even that, something smiles. What if the balance of souls, the sacred law holding life, death, and rebirth together, began to tilt the moment Superman took his first breath in soul society, and no one realized the cost until it was already too late. The air inside the Senkaiman quivers as it closes, sealing Superman inside Seireitei. Stone streets stretch endlessly beneath a pale sky, immaculate and ancient, humming with spiritual order, refined over thousands of years. And yet, with every step Superman takes, that order trembles not violently, not explosively, but subtly. Like a flawless crystal developing hairline fractures no one wants to acknowledge. He feels it immediately. not weakness, not hostility, constraint, his lungs draw breath. But the air feels thinner, heavier, saturated with something that presses against his cells rather than nourishing them. His strength remains vast, immeasurable by any Shinigami standard, but it no longer feels infinite, it feels negotiated. So this is your capital, Superman says, eyes tracing the towering white walls, the layered districts, the distant spires where power concentrates like gravity. It's beautiful, Renji lets out a sharp, humorless laugh. Yeah, most invaders don't compliment us before trying to kill everyone. I'm not an invader, Superman replies instantly. I didn't choose to come here. Byakuya studies him in silence, Senbon Zekura still sheathed but ready. His mind races through centuries of knowledge, every recorded anomaly, every forbidden text. Nothing fits. No soul should exist like this, solid, alive, and yet untouched by Reiatsu flow. Even the Soul King's presence obeys the rules of spiritual hierarchy. This man is not. You are not dead, Byakuya finally says, and you are not a soul. Superman nods. I'm alive, and where I'm from, I protect people. All people. A faint ripple moves through the arena, almost like laughter, unseen by all but one. High above, in a shadowed tower where even captains rarely tread, Sosuke Aizen stands with hands folded behind his back, glasses reflecting the sky. His spiritual senses stretch outward, brushing against Superman's presence like fingers against a flame. So that's it, Aizen murmurs softly. A power born outside the system. Genichimaru's eyes narrow, smile thin. He ain't like anything here, that's for sure. Feels like, if hope learned how to punch ice and chuklas, hope is dangerous when it doesn't understand despair. Below, Superman suddenly stiffens. He hears it. A scream not loud, not close, but layered. Thousands of voices overlapping in agony, echoing from somewhere far beyond Seireitei's walls. His head snaps toward the horizon. What was that? He asks. Several lieutenants flinch. Byakuya's expression hardens. You cannot hear the outer districts from here. I can, Superman says. And something is very wrong. Before permission can be granted or denied, Superman vanishes. Not with speed that distorts the air. With absence a space he occupied, collapses inward for half a second. Stone cracking as if reality itself stumbled trying to keep up. Renji spins. He just left. Byakuya's eyes widen for the first time. Track him now. They arrive seconds later to devastation. District 64 lies in ruins. Spiritual homes torn apart like paper, the ground scorched black. Hollows of them litter the streets, some already purified, others frozen mid-motion, but he's locked in fear. At the center stands Superman, cape torn at the edges, breathing hard. In front of him kneels a child soul, shaking, clutching the remains of a shattered chain. It couldn't save them all. Superman whispers, fists clenched so tightly his gloves creak. I heard them too late. The Shinigami freeze. They've seen captains mourn. They've seen warriors rage. They've never seen guilt like this, raw, human, crushing. This happens every day. A seated officer mutters under his breath. Superman's head turns slowly. What did you say? The officer swallows. The outer districts. We can't protect everyone. Superman straightens eyes, burning not with anger, but resolve. Then your system is failing. Spiritual pressure explodes. Not from Superman but around him. The sky darkens as clouds twist unnaturally, reacting to a presence deeper, older. Far beneath Seireitei seals begin to glow. The Soul King's realm trembles, responding to something it cannot classify. Aizen watches it all, smile finally widening. Yes, he whispers. Break it. Break everything. Because for the first time since the world was divided into life and death, hope has arrived without permission, and the universe itself doesn't know how to stop it. What if the very idea of justice became a foreign concept to the Soul Reapers the moment Superman decided he would not accept their limits? And what if that decision forced the Bleach world to confront a truth it had buried for centuries? The central 46 chamber is silent in the way only fear can create. Tall stone pillars loom over robed figures whose authority is absolute. At least it has always been. But today, the air is uneasy. Spiritual barriers hum at full power, reacting not to an attack, but to a presence standing calmly at the center of the hall. Superman does not kneel. He stands with his hands at his sides, posture respectful, but unyielding. Eyes level with judges who have condemned gods and erased captains from history without hesitation. You are an anomaly, one of them declares, a living being trespassing in the realm of the dead. I didn't trespass, Superman replies evenly. I was pulled here, and now that I've seen what's happening to the souls you're meant to protect, I won't ignore it. A murmur ripples through the chamber. Byakuya stands several steps behind him, jaw tight. He has argued procedure, law, precedent, but Central 46 does not bend to emotion. And yet, as he watches Superman, something unfamiliar twists in his chest. This world is built on balance, another judge intones. Life feeds death, death feeds rebirth. Suffering is inevitable. Superman's gaze sharpens. Suffering is preventable. The words land like a blade. You allow entire districts to rot, while you maintain perfection at the center. Superman continues, voice steady but heavy with restrained anger. You call it balance. Where I come from, we call it abandonment. The chamber shudders, not from spiritual pressure, from truth. Before the judges can respond, a presence slithers through the air, soft, invasive. Eisen steps forward, bowing politely. If I may, he says, voice silk over steel. This being raises interesting philosophical questions. Superman turns, instantly alert. Something about this man is wrong. Perfectly wrong. Eisen smiles. You wish to save everyone. A noble impulse. But have you considered what happens when a world becomes dependent on a single savior? Superman's jaw tightens. I don't want worship. I want accountability. Ah, Eisen says softly. But the moment you exceed the system, you'll replace it. The judges exchange glances. Eisen continues, carefully planting doubt. Already, the flow of souls has begun to destabilize. Hollows are thinning in some regions, but accumulating in others. Your presence draws attention, cosmic attention. That gets Superman's attention. What do you mean? He asks. Eisen's eyes gleam. I mean that power, like yours does, not exist in isolation, and the universe is responding. As if summoned by the words, the ground convulses. Alarms scream across Seireitei. A massive surge of Reiatsu erupts from the western gate, violent, corrupted, layered with countless screams. A garganta tears open, wider than any before it. Egia's bleeding darkness. Byakuya draws his sword. Report. A panicked voice answers through Kido. It's a holobot. It's fused with dozens more. It's evolving midi-emergence. Superman doesn't wait. He launches skyward, breaking through the chamber's ceiling without resistance. Central 46 forgotten. Wind roars around him as the monstrosity emerge. He's a grotesque titan of masks and limbs. Spiritual pressure crushing buildings like toys. Ichigo appears beside him in a flash of black. Tell me you have a plan. Superman studies the creature, senses racing. I've fought monsters bigger than this, he says, but never ones made of pain. They move together. Ichigo's Getsuga, Tensho carves through layers of hollow flesh. Superman follows, fists glowing as he restrains himself, always restrains himself, calculating how much force this world can take. Each strike sends shockwaves through the sky, distorting clouds, bending light. And yet, the hollow adapts. Masks reform faster than they can be destroyed. Screams intensify. The creature grows stronger the more spiritual energy it absorbs, feeding on the battle itself. Superman realizes it too late. This thing is reacting to me, he mutters. My power is accelerating it. Eisen watches from afar, eyes alight. Yes, he whispers. Show me how far hope can bend before it breaks. The hollow rears back, unleashing a Zero so massive it eclipses the sun. Ichigo brushes, captains converge. Superman steps forward alone. He plants his feet, raises his arms, and takes the blast. Head and light consumes the sky. For 3 terrifying seconds, even Eisen holds his breath. When the light fades, Superman is still shredded, skin scorched, eyes burning brighter than ever. He looks at the hollow, not with fear, but understanding. This world doesn't need a god, he says quietly. It needs someone willing to carry the weight. He draws in a breath that shakes the heavens, and for the first time, he stops holding back. What if the moment Superman stopped holding back wasn't the moment? The world was saved, but the moment it truly realized what it had summoned. The sky doesn't explode, it folds. Space bends inward around Superman as if reality itself is bracing, light warping toward him, colors stretching thin. The hollow Seireitei collapses mid-beam, not deflected, not overpowered, compressed, crushed into a sphere of blinding energy hovering between Superman's palms. Every Shinigami watching feels it, not REIATSU, pressure. Pure, physical, impossible. Pressure like the planet, being forced into the shape of a fist. Ichigo's eyes widen. His instincts scream at him to move, to intervene, but his body refuses. That power, he whispers, it's not just strength, it's control. The hollow shrieks as Superman closes his hands. The sphere implodes silently. For a heartbeat, there is no sound at all. Then a shockwave ripples outward, flattening clouds, ripping across Seireitei's outer walls, knocking captains from their feet. The hollow's massive form disintegrates, masks vaporized, corrupted souls purified in an instant. Raining down like glowing embers, silence returns, slow, heavy, unnatural. Superman hovers in the air, chest rising and falling. He listens desperately. Screams that don't come. The souls are gone, released, at peace. But something else has changed. He feels it in his bones. The flow of this world stutters, like a heart skipping a beat. Deep within the sealed realm, the Soul King's attendants stiffen, ancient mechanisms awaken, seals strain. For the first time since creation, the balance trembles not from rebellion but from intervention. On a distant rooftop, Aizen lowers his hands slowly, eyes shining with awe and hunger. Extraordinary, he murmurs. He didn't destroy it. He resolved it. Jin's smile fades just a little. Boss, that ain't how this world works. Aizen's voice softens. Exactly. Superman descends, boots touching stone that cracks beneath the residual force of his restraint. Finally, gone. Shinigami gather around him, some in shock, some in fear, some in something dangerously close to reverence. Byakuya steps forward, sword lowered. His voice is controlled, but strained. You've altered the balance. Superman meets his gaze. I saved lives. Who erased the necessary evil? Byakuya counters. Hollows exist because despair exists. You cannot punch suffering out of existence. Superman looks past him, to the outer districts, to the souls still waiting, still afraid. Then why protect a system that feeds on it? No one answers. Ichigo finally steps beside Superman. If you keep doing this, he says quietly, Soul Society will turn on you. Superman nods. I know. Above them, the air ripples again, this time, not violently, but precisely. A figure steps through, wrapped in white and gold. Presence. So heavy it forces even captains to their knees. The head captain, Yamamoto's staff, strikes the ground once, flames flickering at its tip. His ancient eyes lock onto Superman now, with anger, but with grim understanding. You are a threat to the world, Yamamoto says. Superman doesn't flinch. Then help me fix it. Yamamoto's Ryatsu flares, the temperature spiking instantly. And if fixing it destroys everything we've sworn to protect. Superman feels it. Then the truth, Aizen hinted at. This world is not ready for hope, without limits, and somewhere in the darkness between realms something older than hollows, older than Shinigami, has begun to move, drawn by a power that should not exist. The ground trembles again, not from battle, from awakening. What if the greatest threat Superman posed to the Bleach world wasn't his strength, but the question his presence forced everyone to answer? If suffering can be stopped, why hasn't it been? The flames around Yamamoto do not roar. They wait. Contained within his staff is the heat of a sun, a power so absolute that even captains fear to breathe too deeply in his presence. Superman feels it press against his skin, not burning, but warning. This man is not a tyrant. He is a guardian who has watched civilizations rise and fall and learned that mercy, when unmeasured, can be just as destructive as cruelty. You do not understand this world, Yamamoto says, voice steady as stone. Its pain is not an error. It is the consequence of choice. Superman floats a few inches above the ground, cape settling slowly. Every world I've protected told me that once. Ichigo looks between them, heart pounding. Two forces that feel inevitably colliding, not with fists, but ideals. Yamamoto raises his staff slightly. If you continue interfering, the realms will destabilize. Hell will stir. The Quincy will react. Even the Soul King, I know. Superman interrupts softly. I can hear it all. That stops him. Superman lifts his eye and, for the first time since arriving, he opens his senses fully. Not just sight and sound, but everything. He feels the cycle of souls, like a vast river, measured, regulated. He feels where it bottlenecks, where it rots, where it overflows into despair that births hollows. And beneath it all, he feels something chained, a presence bound, silent, enduring. The balance isn't natural, Superman says, eyes opening. Slowly, it's enforced. A shock ripples through the captain's. Aizen's smile widens from the shadows. Yes, see it. Yamamoto's grip tightens. Careful, he warns. There are truths that shatter worlds. Before Superman can respond, the sky tears. You're not a Garganta, not a Senkaman, something older. The air screams as a black fissure opens above Seireitei, leaking a pressure so suffocating that even Yamamoto staggers half a step. Chains of crimson energy lash outward, dragging with them distorted figures, twisted beyond hollows, eyes glowing with abyssal hunger. Hal has noticed. Captains move instantly, forming battle lines. Ichigo raises his blade. Whatever that is, he says, it's not supposed to be here. Superman feels it lock onto him. This is no coincidence. These entities feed on imbalance, Yamamoto says grimly. And you are a beacon. The fissure widens, a massive arm clawing its way through, covered in seals, older than Soul Society itself. A voice, he has not spoken, but felt, a bearer of forbidden hope. You weaken the chains. Superman clenches his fists. I didn't come here to replace your world, he says. I came because people were suffering. The voice laughs. Suffering is the mortar of existence. The arm surges downward towards Seireitei. Yamamoto steps forward. Flames erupting at last. Then we end this now. But Superman moves first. He launches upward, straight into the rift, sunlight blazing around him like a living star. As he disappears into the darkness, Ichigo shouts after him, "You don't have to do this alone." Superman doesn't look back. I know, his voice echoes, but I choose to. The fissure begins to close behind him slowly. Him inside a realm even the Soul Reapers fear to name. Aizen watches in rapt fascination. If he survives, he whispers, this world will never be the same. And for the first time, even Yamamoto is unsure whether sealing the door was an act of protection or a terrible mistake. What if Superman's greatest test wasn't facing Hal itself, but discovering that Hal had been waiting for someone like him all along? Darkness wraps around him the instant the rift seals. Not empty darkness, crowded darkness. Superman feels it pressing in from every direction, layered with agony so dense it almost has weight. This is not a place built for punishment alone. It is a place designed to endure it. Chains of glowing scripts stretch across an endless void, each link forged from regret, rage, and unfinished lives, and every chain trembles as he arrives. So, this is hell, Superman murmurs, floating in the abyss. His breath fogs faintly, though he does not need air. You're smaller than I expected. Laughter ripples through the darkness, deep, resonant, ancient. You mistake containment for weakness, the voice replies. We are not small, we are restrained. The void shifts. A colossal form emerges, bound in seals and chains thicker than mountains. Its body composed of countless fused souls, faces screaming silently across its surface. Its eyes burn with recognition. You are not of this cycle, it says, yet you interfere with it. Superman's fists tighten. I stop people from suffering. And in doing so, the entity intones, you threaten the equilibrium that keeps us bound. Understanding dawns slowly and coldly. Hell isn't rising because Superman is too violent. Hell is rising because he is too compassionate. His system relies on despair, Superman says. On souls breaking just enough to keep this place fed. The chains strain. Despair is not fed, Hell replies. It is recycled. The entity lunges not free, but close enough that its presence slams into Superman like a collapsing star. Pain flashes through him, sharp and alien, not physical, but conceptual memories, guilt, loss, magnified and forced into him all at once. He staggers. Images flood his mind, Krypton burning, Jonathan Kent dying in his arms. Worlds he couldn't reach in time. Hell knows him. You think I haven't faced despair? Superman growls, forcing himself upright. I live with it every day. The chains around the entity glow brighter, reacting not weakening, but resonating. That is why you are dangerous. Hell says softly. You endure suffering without surrendering to it. Above, far beyond the sealed realm, the Bleach world reels. In Soul Society, the sky remains cracked, leaking faint motes of golden light. Yamamoto watches in silence as the flow of souls fluctuates, wildly too smooth in some places, violently unstable in others. He's changing the cycle just by existing. A captain whispers. Ichigo stares upward, heart pounding. "You better come back," he mutters, "because if he doesn't, we're next." In the darkness, Seireitei plants his feet against nothingness and pulls. He grabs the chains. Every seal screams. The pain is immediate and overwhelming, ripping through his body, burning symbols into his skin, not wounds, but rules. The laws of this universe fighting to assert themselves. Superman roars not in rage, but effortless sunlight erupts from him, clashing violently with hell's crimson glow. "I don't need to break your chains," he says through clenched teeth. "I just need to prove you don't own suffering." The void fractures. Cracks of light spread through hell itself, the chains beginning to bend and not snap, but yield. The entity howls, a sound that shakes every realm at once. And somewhere deep within Soul Society, something ancient and forbidden begins to stir, responding not to hell's pain, but to Superman's defiance. What if the moment Superman proved suffering didn't own him? Something else decided it wanted to own him instead. The cracks in hell don't widen, they crawl, like veins of light spreading through a dying heart. Golden fissures race along the chains Superman grips, illuminating faces trapped within them, souls that stop screaming as the light touches them, eyes widening in disbelief as pain loosens its grip for the first time in centuries. Above them all, the bound entity CONVULSES. Stop. It roars not in command, but in fear. You do not understand what you are undoing. Superman feels it now, the hidden truth Yamamoto warned him about. Hell is not just a prison, it is a counterweight, a pressure valve for a universe terrified of collapse. And by easing suffering here, even unintentionally, he is shifting forces that were never meant to move. "I understand enough," Superman says, voice strained as the chains cut deeper into his hands. "No system has the right to exist if it requires eternal torment to function." The entity's eyes flare. "Then you will replace us," it hisses. "You will become the burden." The words strike deeper than any blow. For a split second, doubt flickers. Every world he's saved, every enemy he's stopped, every time people look to the sky instead of to each other. What if hope, carried too far, becomes dependency? What if removing suffering doesn't free people, but weakens them? In that hesitation, something moves, not hell. Something behind it. A presence slips through the fractures Superman created, silent and precise, untouched by pain or hope alike. Where hell is rage and despair, this is order, cold, absolute, unyielding. In Soul Society, alarms die mid-scream. Every captain freezes. Yamamoto's eyes widen as he feels it. "Impossible." Aizen laughs off. "Reverend, there you are." The royal guard descends too late as the air above the Soul King's palace distorts. A silhouette forms, faceless, blindingly white, composed of shifting geometry and law. Rather than flesh. The Soul King's failsafe, a mechanism older than older than Quincy, designed to activate when the balance is threatened by something that cannot be corrected. Inside hell, Superman gasps as the light changes, not warm, sterile. The chains release him not because they're broken, but because they no longer matter. The new presence regards him without eyes. Anomaly identified, it speaks directly into his mind. "Existence, vector incompatible. Correction required." Superman floats, stunned. "You're not alive, nor are you dead." It replies, "You are excess." The void begins to compress, not crushing him, but isolating him, rewriting the rules of the space around his body. His strength pushes back, but for the first time since arriving in this universe, it meets resistance that doesn't yield. Not evil, not hatred, just necessity. In Soul Society, Ichigo feels his chest tighten. "Something's wrong," he says. "He's not fighting anymore." Yamamoto grips his staff. "No," he whispers. "He's being judged." Back in the void, Superman clenches his fists, sunlight flaring violently as he strains against the correction field. Memories surge again, but this time, not his. He sees the creation of the realms, the splitting of life and death, the binding of the Soul King, the endless compromises you've made to keep reality from tearing itself apart, and he understands the final cruelty this world survives by sacrificing freedom. Superman lifts his head. If balance requires suffering, he says quietly, then balance is wrong. The correction field tightens. Conclusion reached. The failsafe in Tun's anomaly must be removed. Light collapses inward, and for one terrifying moment, Superman begins to fade. What if the moment Superman began to disappear was the moment that Bleach world realized how much it needed someone who refused to belong? The light around Superman thins, peeling away from him in layers, as if reality itself is gently but relentlessly enwriting his existence. His cape fades first, dissolving into motes of gold. Then the strength in his limbs begins to feel distant, like a memory rather than a certainty. This isn't death, it's erasure. Superman grits his teeth, forcing himself to focus. Panic won't help. Power alone won't help. Power alone won't help. Whatever this thing is, it doesn't fight. It corrects. I won't disappear, he says, more to himself than to the faceless presence. Not while people still need help. The failsafe does not respond. It doesn't argue. It simply tightens the field above, across every realm. The consequences ripple outward. In soul societies, spirits stumble as the flow of souls stutters again, this time not from imbalance, but absence. Hollows hesitate mid-hunt, confused, their hunger dulled. In the world of the living, Ichigo drops to one knee, gasping as if something vital has been ripped from the air itself. Why does it feel like the sky just went empty? He whispers. Aizen's smile falters. For the first time since Superman arrived, uncertainty flickers across his face. No, he mutters. That won't do it all. Yamamoto turns sharply. You knew this would happen. Aizen chuckles softly. I suspected something like it. But watching a universe try to reject hope itself, his eyes gleam. That's new. High above, the Royal Guard moves at last, not in obedience to the failsafe, but against it. Blades flash, Kido ignites. Too late to stop the process, but not too late to interfere. Inside the collapsing void, Superman feels something unexpected. Hands, not physical ones, spiritual ones. Countless souls, brushing against him as they pass through the cycle, pulled by the echo of what he represents. Fearless kindness, relentless protection. The idea that someone will show up, even when they don't belong. He hears them not screaming, not begging. Stay. Superman's eyes widen. You don't need me, he whispers. You need each other. But the presence presses closer, not demanding, believing. The correction field stutters. Just for a fraction of a second, and in that gap, Superman makes a choice. He stops resisting. Instead, he reaches inward, past strength, past speed, past invulnerability, down to the core of what he is. Not a god, not a weapon, a symbol. If I don't belong here, he says softly, then let me stand between. Light surges not outward, but inward, condensing around him, stabilizing rather than exploding. The erasure slows, confused, recalculating. Anomaly status altered. The failsafe function undefined. In soul society, the pressure lifts slightly. Ichigo looks up, eyes wide. He's still there. He breathes. I can feel him. Yamamoto exhales, tension easing by a hair's breadth. Then the world has not rejected him, he murmurs. It is reconsidering. The void stabilizes, cracked, fragile, but holding. Superman floats in the center of it, battered, dimmed, but present. He opens his eyes, meeting the faceless gaze of the failsafe without fear. I'm not here to replace your world, he says. I'm here to remind it what it's fighting for. The presence is silent, and for the first time since creation, the mechanism hesitates. What if the world's hesitation, just a single heartbeat of doubt, was enough to change everything it believed about strength, balance, and hope? The void doesn't collapse anymore. It listens. The faceless failsafe hovers before Superman, its form flickering subtly, geometric patterns stuttering as if caught between commands. This construct was never meant to negotiate. It was built to erase anomalies cleanly, efficiently, without sentiment. And yet, sentiment is flooding the system. Data it cannot quantify. Faith, defiance, choice, undefined variable detected. It intones symbolic resonance exceeding containment parameters. Superman floats, exhausted but steady. His power feels different, now diminished but refined, less like a hammer, more like a foundation. You were made to protect reality, he says gently. So was I. The failsafe projects images directly into his mind, entire epochs flashing by, wars ended by compromise, atrocities justified by balance. The entire population sacrificed so the equation would hold. Protection requires sacrifice, it replies. Superman closes his eyes. No, protection requires courage. The light shifts, dots across the realms. The effects are immediate. In the Rukongai districts, hollows that would have attacked hesitate, masks cracking as confusion ripples through them. Some recoil, not purified, not destroyed but unwilling to, continue souls. Long trapped in cycles of despair, feel something unfamiliar stir within them. Choice, in soul society. Captains feel their Zanpakutu hum not in alarm, but curiosity. Blades that have known only duty now respond to something older than law. Ichigo grips Sengetsu tightly. It's like the world's asking a question, he says. Dod Yamamoto nods slowly, and waiting for the answer. Inside the void, the failsafe begins to fraction out violently, but conceptually. Its geometry loses cohesion as new parameters overwrite ancient ones. Resolution pathway forming. It states, anomaly classification. Redefined. Superman feels the pressure ease further. The erasure field dissipates, replaced by something else entirely. A bridge. Not a place of belonging, but a connection. You don't have to bind suffering to survive, Superman says. You can grow beyond it. The failsafe's light dims, then brightens, no longer sterile white, but tinged faintly with gold. Conclusion reached, it says at last. Balance may be preserved through inspiration rather than suppression. With that, it dissolves, not destroyed, but absorbed back into the structure of reality. Rewritten at its core. The void opens. Superman is expelled in a burst of light, hurled back towards soul society as the rift snaps shut behind him, this time gently. Like a door being closed rather than slammed. He crashes into the sky above Seireitei, catching himself mid-air, just before hitting the ground. His cape reforms in a shimmer of sunlight. He lands hard, one knee down, breath heavy. Silence follows. Every captain, every soldier, every soul, watching from afar, waits. Superman rises slowly. I can't stay here forever, he says, meeting Yamamoto's gaze. But while I'm here, I won't stop caring. Yamamoto studies him for a long moment, then plants his staff firmly into the ground. Then perhaps, he says, this world will learn to care more as well. From the shadows, Eisenwater's expression unreadable now. Intrigue tempered with something dangerously close to respect. The balance has not shattered, it has shifted, and somewhere deep within the cycle of souls, a new idea has taken root, one that cannot be sealed away. Hope, without permission. What if hope, once planted, refused to stay quiet, when the world that tried to contain it began to change in ways no one could control? The days that follow feel unreal, not peaceful, different. Superman remains in soul society, not as a prisoner, not as a ruler, but as something far more unsettling. A constant reminder that the rules are not immutable. He walks the white streets of Seireitei openly now, captains watching him from a distance. Their suspicions slowly giving way to something heavier. Reflection. In the outer districts, rumors spread faster than Ryatsu. A man of light, a protector. Who does not ask who you were in life? Hollows hesitate longer before attacking. Some retreated entirely, as if an instinct older than hunger is whispering that this prey is no longer helpless. Superman feels it every second. The world pulling against itself. You're changing things just by standing here, Rukia says quietly, as they overlook a rebuilt district. Even when you do nothing. Superman watches souls rebuilding homes with hands that tremble less than before. I'm not changing them, he replies. They're changing themselves. Ichigo joins them, arms folded. Soul society doesn't like change, he says. Especially not when it doesn't come from a sword. Superman smiles faintly. Neither did my world. But beneath the surface, tension coils. In the deepest archives, sealed doors open for the first time in millennia. The royal guard debates in hushed voices about precedents, long thought irrelevant. The Quincy remnants feel a disturbance in the spiritual fabric, something that threatens their philosophy of annihilation over purification. And Eisen watches everything. You see it, don't you? Gin murmurs beside him. It's the cycles. Lucen and Eisen nods slowly. No, he says. It's evolving. High above, Superman suddenly stiffens. He hears something new, not a scream, not a cry for help, but a rhythm, a pulse echoing across realms, uneven and growing stronger. It feels intentional. Something's coming, he says. Yamamoto feels it too, eyes narrowing. The balance adjusts, he replies, and Redditors notice. The sky darkens not with clouds, but with absence. Stars dim. A pressure descends that feels neither hollow nor hellish, but hungry in a colder way. From the edge of existence, a new tier opens clean, surgical, lined with silver light. Figures step through, clad in unfamiliar regalia, eyes glowing with purpose. Quincy, but not like Ichigo has ever seen. These are not survivors, they are architects. Their leader steps forward, gaze locking onto Superman instantly. So, he says calmly, you are the variable. Superman meets his stare, already feeling the weight of what's coming. I'm here to help, he says. Quincy's lips curl slightly. That, he replies, is precisely the problem. Spiritual energy begins to drain, not violently, but efficiently, as if reality itself is being harvested. Hollows disintegrate without purification. Souls vanish from the cycle entirely. Superman clenches his fists. This world found hope, and now something has come to erase it. What if the next battle wasn't about strength, speed, or skill, but about ideals clashing across realms, each unwilling to yield because the universe itself was at stake? Superman hovers, sunlight rippling off his body, cape snapping against the sudden gale of distorted Ryatsu. Below him, Ichigo, Rukia, and the captain's brace. The newcomer's Quincy, unlike any Ichigo, has faced radiate precision and authority. Each movement measured, devastating. Their leader steps forward, cloak flowing as though reality itself bends to him. You are a veritable, the Quincy repeats, voice calm, resonant, almost hypnotic, an anomaly that upsets the order. You bring chaos to a system older than you. I bring hope, Superman responds evenly. Something you've forgotten exists, the Quincy smirks. Hope is irrelevant where balance is the law. He gestures, and waves of silver energy radiate outward, dissolving spiritual constructs instantly. Hollows vanish mid-flight, unpurified. The flow of souls stutters violently. Even the royal guard's defenses flicker under the strain. Ichigo grits his teeth. That's not just power, that's stealing existence. Yes, the Quincy's leader says. And we will correct it. Superman narrows his eyes, fists igniting with heat that bends the air around him. Then you'll have to stop me. In an instant, Superman and the Quincy clash. The first blow isn't a punch, it's a shockwave that shatters rooftops, displaces buildings, and ripples across the spiritual planes. The light collides with energy so precise it slices through the air with deadly calm. Even Ichigo can barely keep pace, watching the fight unfold like a force of nature reshaping the world. The captains move to engage, but every swing, every Kido spell, is intercepted. The Quincy are faster, sharper, and coordinated in ways Soul Society has never witnessed. Every attack Superman throws is countered not because it fails, but because the Quincy anticipate, adapt, and exploit the limits of this realm itself. Superman grits his teeth. They're not just fighting, they're analyzing me. They're more than that, Ichigo says, voice strained. They're rewriting the rules of the fight as it happens. Suddenly, the ground beneath them cracks. Seireitei trembles, ancient stone splitting as the energy of Superman and the Quincy interacts with the spiritual fabric of the city. Light pours upwards through the cracks, illuminating the sky with gold and silver in violent contrast. The very air screams, and souls in the Rukongai feel the tremor, an omen of cataclysmic change. Rukia shouts over the roar. If we don't stop this, Seireitei won't survive. Superman locks eyes with Ichigo midair. I won't let him. Destroy your home, he shouts. But I can't do it alone. Ichigo grins grimly. Then we fight together. The two of them surge forward, combining energy in ways Soul Society has never seen. Ichigo's Getsuga Tenshu splits the air with raw spiritual force. Superman's heat vision, flight, and raw strength bend the Quincy's attacks. Every strike echoes through the city like rolling thunder, setting off cascades of energy that tear through the boundaries between life and death, order and chaos. But the Quincy leader only smiles, stepping forward with a gesture that unleashes a wave of reality itself. Recalibrating time bends slightly. Space warps, and Superman feels his every movement tracked and counted before he can even commit to it. "This is beyond anything I've faced," Superman mutters, muscles tensing as he realizes brute force won't be enough. "I need to adapt, or this world dies." And in that realization, something stirs deep within him, strategy formed not of strength, but of inspiration. He doesn't just fight to win. He fights to show the Quincy what it means to hope against impossible odds. The sky over Seireitei cracks further, energy cascading across realms, and a low rumble grows like a heartbeat that threatens to swallow everything. What if the fight against the Quincy wasn't just a battle of power, but a test of influence where, showing mercy, courage, and resolve, could shape the very laws of existence? Superman hovers above the city, his chest heaving, sweat and light mingling with the spiritual aura crackling around him. The Quincy leader steps forward, energy crackling in silver arcs around him, moving like a blade through the air, every motion precise and devastating. "You are not meant to exist here," he says, "and yet you defy reality itself." "I exist," Superman responds, voice steady, "because people need someone who refuses to accept limits." The Quincy's energy pulses, rippling through the streets of Seireitei, flattening stone walls and causing even the strongest captains to stagger. Every strike from their leader fractures the laws of this realm. The flow of souls stutters. The barriers separating realms shudder and hollows. In the distance wail, sensing the imbalance, Ichigo yells, charging into the fray beside him. "We can't let them destabilize everything." Superman nods, gripping the edge of reality itself. "Then we show them another way." They strike in unison. Ichigo's Kitsuga Tenshu tears through the Quincy energy like a wave of raw emotion, while Superman intercepts the silver arcs with heat vision and concentrated force, redirecting the energy in ways that Quincy did not anticipate. The impact is tremendous. Shockwaves ripple across Seireitei, shaking the tallest spires, sending fragments of stone and debris flying like shards of glass. But the Quincy leader adapts. Every countermeasure Superman implements is anticipated. Every combined attack met with precise adjustment. It's as if the Quincy can read not just his moves, but his intent. Superman grits his teeth, realizing that brute strength alone will never be enough. Then he sees it. The civilians, the trapped souls, even the hollows watching from the shadows, hesitant, uncertain, their energy flickering like candles in a storm. They're waiting for him to act, to give them a sign that it's worth resisting, worth surviving. "I can't just fight," he mutters to himself. "I have to inspire." He lifts his head, sunlight catching the edges of his cape. Everyone he calls, voice echoing across realms. "Look at what we can do together. Stand, fight, hope." Energy pulses outward, not destructive, but invigorating. Spiritual chains glow, barriers shimmer, and a strange resonance spreads among the Quincy's ranks. They pause, even the leader, sensing something unexpected. The power of a world refusing to succumb to fear. Ichigo grins, catching the spark. He's turning the fight into our fight. Superman surges forward with renewed purpose. Every movement is precise, calculated, but now guided not just by strength, by belief. He strikes with a combination of heat vision, superhuman strength, and flight maneuvers that push the Quincy leader backward, not just physically but morally, challenging the certainty in their purpose. The leader steps back, expression unchanging, but their energy flickers, just slightly, like a crack in the steel of a fortress. "This isn't supposed to happen," the Quincy murmurs. Superman hovers over him, chest heaving. The world doesn't need systems to control it. It needs people willing to rise when the rules fail. Below, the captains watch in awe. Yamamoto whispers, "Perhaps this is a force beyond law, beyond precedent." And then the sky shudders violently. The rift behind the Quincy leader expands once more, spilling new energy into Seireitei. It's clear, the battle is far from over, but now the tide is shifting not by force, but by defiance and hope. What if the moment Superman shifted the battle from force to hope? Quincy realized they weren't just facing a man, but a symbol that could unravel their entire philosophy. The rift behind the Quincy leader pulses, silver energy streaking outward like veins across the sky. The captains tighten their grips on their zanpakutu, prepared to defend, yet the hesitation in the Quincy is palpable. Superman's presence is no longer merely disruptive, it is contagious. Every soul, every observer, feels the pull of his conviction. Superman hovers mid-air, light radiating off him in rippling waves that distort the environment. "This world doesn't need your control," he shouts, voice carrying over the chaos. "It needs courage. Stand with me or step aside." The Quincy leader snarls, slashing a wave of silver energy toward the ground. The blast tears through the streets, pulverizing stone. Yet something remarkable happens. The civilians, the outer districts, lingering souls, even hollows at the edge of the battlefield, hesitate. The energy that would normally consume them falters. Ichigo and the captains exploit the moment. Ichigo's Getsuga Tenshu collides with the Quincy's strike, energy exploding into the air as Superman intervenes, sending a shockwave that knocks the leader backward. The combination of human determination, Shinigami skill, and Superman's raw force begins to push the battle in their favor. But the leader is quick. He recovers instantly, eyes narrowing. You think hope alone can overcome centuries of law. Balance is not negotiable. Superman clenches his fists. Balance without compassion is tyranny. His voice resonates across the battlefield, filled with unwavering conviction. "I don't belong here, but I choose to fight for you anyway." Energy flares from Superman's body, superheated light mingling with his spiritual aura. The rift reacts violently, silver veins snapping and thrashing as if the fabric of reality itself resists. And then it happens. The Quincy leader hesitates, just a fraction of a second, enough for Superman to exploit. He moves faster than the eye, contract, striking not with brute force, but with precision. Heat vision sears toward critical energy nodes in the rift, destabilizing the structure from within. Simultaneously, Superman grabs the Quincy leader's energy projection mid-flight and hurls it into the collapsing rift. The rift shudders violently and begins to close, pulling the energy and its master back with it. A vortex forms, sucking in loose debris, residual hollows, and spiritual residue, stabilizing the region once more. The Quincy leader's voice echoes faintly from within the rift. "This isn't over." Superman lands gently, cape billowing. Ichigo and the captains stand beside him, faces bruised but filled with awe. Yamamoto approaches, staff planted firmly. "You have done something unprecedented," he says quietly. "You are not a Shinigami, nor a god, yet your presence has altered the very laws we abide by." Superman looks around at the devastated yet surviving city. "I didn't come to replace this world," he says. "I came to remind it that people can rise above the rules designed to contain them." Aizen watches from the shadows, his expression unreadable but contemplative. "Extraordinary," he whispers. "He did not fight to destroy, yet he changed everything." For the first time in centuries, Seireitei breathes freely, not because the battle is won, but because hope refuses to be contained, and far beyond the realms. The Soul King stirs slightly in his sealed throne, sensing a shift. Even the system that has governed existence itself begins to acknowledge that a force like Superman, man from another world, cannot be ignored. Superman lifts his gaze to the horizon, cape snapping in the wind. "This is only the beginning," he murmurs. "A promise to both worlds." What if Superman's presence didn't just shift battles, but began to reshape the very foundation of the Bleach world, forcing everyone to question the rules they had followed? For centuries, the aftermath of the Quincy assault leaves Seireitei scarred, but not broken. Buildings are rebuilt faster than the captains expected, and the residual energy from Superman's intervention seems to linger, weaving into the streets, the air, even the spiritual flows themselves. It's as if the world itself has absorbed a new rhythm, a cadence of possibility and choice, rather than mere compliance. Superman floats above the city, surveying the aftermath. Even exhausted, his senses detect subtle changes. Hollows are weaker, hesitant. Some retreat back into the depths, not from fear, but from the realization that the cycle they thrived upon is no longer absolute. Human souls, once passive in despair, radiate faint traces of hope, a glimmer that wasn't there before. Ichigo lands beside him, wiping blood from his arm. This is different," he says. I've fought monsters, captains, even the Espada, but I've never felt the world change because of a fight. That's because this isn't just a fight, Superman says softly. It's proof that the system can bend, and that hope doesn't have to wait for permission. Rukia approaches, her expression wary but thoughtful. You've altered the cycle itself. Even Yamamoto senses it. Superman turns toward the horizon. Beyond Seireitei, the sky remains slightly fractured, a lingering reminder of the battle and the rift that tried to rewrite reality. I didn't come here to break your world, he says. I came because someone needed to remind it that despair isn't inevitable. From the shadows, Aizen steps forward, hands folded, expression unreadable. Remarkable, he murmurs. You are not bound by the rules, yet you command them indirectly. You wield faith as effectively as any weapon. Superman looks at him calmly. Faith isn't a weapon, it's a choice. Aizen tilts his head. Perhaps, but choices have consequences. Before Superman can respond, a new pulse reverberates through the spiritual plane. The remnants of the Quincy, scattered but alive, begin to reform in the distance. Their leader's warning echoes in his mind. This isn't over. Yamamoto steps forward, staff planted in the cracked stone. Then perhaps the world is ready for something it has never known. A guardian who inspires instead of rules. Superman lowers himself to the ground, surveying Seireitei captains, lieutenants, and civilians alike. Watch him not with fear, not with reverence, but with expectation. He realizes that his role isn't to dominate or control, but to demonstrate what is possible. The horizon darkens slightly, a ripple of new threat in the distance. Hollows stir, wary but sensing the shift in power, and somewhere deep within Seireitei, the Soul King's throne pulses faintly, acknowledging that a force beyond his control has entered the realms. Superman breathes deeply. I didn't come here to belong. I came to stand between this world and the darkness it couldn't face alone, and I'll stay as long as it takes. Ichigo steps beside him, fists clenched. Then let's make sure the next fight doesn't just test strength, it tests what we stand for. Together, they look toward the horizon, ready for whatever new threats emerge. Seireitei is bruised but alive. Hope has taken root, fragile yet unyielding, a force no law, no enemy, no system can erase. And somewhere, beyond the rifts of existence, the universe takes notice. A man from another world, carrying the light of a sun-born hope, has altered the fate of countless souls. Seireitei will never be the same, and neither will the worlds beyond. The end.